Hello everyone, Ash Francis here from Dash Retail, and today I'm going to be answering my Dash Watch interview questions for April 2019. For anyone not familiar with the proposal, what exactly is Dash Retail? Well, Dash Retail is a platform that's being designed for our local adoption teams and their merchants and those merchants' customers. Really, it's comprised of a point of sale, a fiat Dash gateway, a local remittance system, and a fiat hedging service. What I mean by fiat hedging service is a way for the merchants to mitigate any volatility risks they have when they accept Dash as a payment option. Okay, so the first part of that is the point of sale. There are already several point of sale systems out there for Dash, but each of these have some show-stopping issues, and we're really building a best-in-class Dash retail point of sale. Hats off, and we wouldn't be where we are without the work of Kodak's on Spark, without Derek Freeman and his team on AnyPay, without Hans working on QRCR. But Spark is, it's more of a side project rather than a dedicated full project with multiple developers. And Kodak's has done great, but he's also, respected the fact that we've come in to build something that's really meeting the demands of those adoption teams. There were some performance issues and some reliability issues that we sought to solve. We've really just taken the work and the foundation that's been built there and run with it. With Hans and QRCR, the QRCR was just sort of a voluntary effort from Hans to give to the Venezuelan team. It's not a bad piece of software by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not that purpose-driven, really sort of enterprise-grade piece of software and platform we're building. We're trying to be sort of at a different level here. We're trying to really facilitate those merchant and customer interactions and do it in a measurable and scalable way. We're talking about 100% uptime. We're talking about fiat hedging. We're talking about measured results from those local agents and even down to their team members as well, so that everyone's held both accountable but also incentivized towards the same goals that the DAO has. But AnyPay as well. AnyPay is good and it's being used all in Hampshire. They've done some really cool things with their charts, with their maps. But again, it's a multi-currency solution, and really we're taking a different approach with it. And it doesn't mean that their approach is wrong per se. It's just ours is designed to be software for the DAO rather than a business off the side. We're building a platform that can be used by anyone. It's not AnyPay. Dash Retail isn't its own company, really. It's a software platform that's being built for the DAO and for those local teams. It's not restrictive. It's not a commercial entity or revenue generating. It is just a platform that's being built, similar to how you would say the Dash wallet's being built. It is for the DAO. So yeah, that covers the point of sale really. But what do we mean by best in class, and how do we really want to compare? So we want to have a really good user experience for the agents, for their merchants, for their customers, which means that it's really easy for agents to add new merchants, to sign up those merchants, and for those merchants to work with their customers, and for the merchants' clerks to use the platform. So rather than having a jarring experience where it's unfamiliar at the moment, the Android wallet on iOS and Android are different experiences. Training people on that is a problem, whereas we want to have a uniform experience there. Talking about having that sort of really easy flow through the system, but also having an iterative approach. So rather than just saying, here's what we made, we've got an idea, there you go, you use that. We're really going to be seeking feedback from the teams on the ground using the software and doing some user testing, both qualitative and quantitative. So asking users and asking the agents, what they would change, but also looking at the data, looking at how people use the platform. There's even little things that we've done. So right now, the system uses, push to type, but a lot of people are using it with full-blown laptops and keyboards. So you need to be able to actually type in using the numpad on your keyboard. We went into a local supermarket here, local Persian greengrocers here, and we looked at how they were using their point of sale, because they're passing through, thousands of items, typing in codes, entering discounts and all that, and they just use the numpad exclusively. They're never going to click on their mouse on the screen, and it's just little things like that that we'll be doing and iterating over time to make this really the best it can be. But that's both that qualitative and asking for their opinion, and quantitative, which is looking at the data that we've got in analytics and in our tag warehousing to sort of see how they're using the system and what's working for them, and really just responding to the demands of those merchant teams. So yeah, just really good user experience. The next thing is the reliability and uptime. So we can't afford for the systems to go down. If you walk into a merchant that accepts Dash, you want to be able to pay with Dash. You don't want them to say, oh, I'm sorry, the manager's taken away the point of sale, or oh, the system doesn't seem to be working, it's having an issue with the rates, or the the financial amount isn't reliable. So, we built Dash Retail on Amazon Web Services. It's used by banks. It is a proper enterprise-grade infrastructure. Alex is an AWS certified consultant, so it's all been built best possible way, and we're applying like the strictest standards when it comes to security there. And just the quality of the system, with the point of sale already, we've had 99.99% uptime with a 5-minute downtime when we did the DNS switch. There was an issue with Insight going down, but that's again, it's something where that's a third party. Insight is ran by Dash Core Group, so we're going to be rolling our own nodes and running our own Insight endpoint and creating blockchain, as well as looking internally. So there's a lot of things that we can do to make it much more reliable and much easier for the local adoption teams to depend on and the merchants to depend on. We never want that to be a question. The next thing is measurable success. So it's important that AnyPay have done a good example with the maps and charts, but what we're really trying to do is show what's working and what's not, and basically hold the local teams accountable to a standard. Rather than saying, you choose to report on this. If anyone's using Dash Retail, and we hope that more people will, more groups will, they'll be able to see a transparent standard across that, and we'll be pushing towards adoption, not to vanity metrics like merchant counts. Even if those merchants are students that are offering some architectural design, that doesn't count in the same way that a supermarket does. And by actually making this success measurable, and holding those proposals accountable, we can all sort of grow together and incentivize the merchant sort of adoption teams towards the same metrics that the DAO wants to see. Obviously, it goes without saying that this is all anonymized, this is all sort of collated data. There's nothing here that would risk people's privacy being compromised or government intervention or anything like that. So we will be keeping sort of close tabs on that and respecting the privacies of the individuals. The other thing is it's non-custodial. I mean, there's options for them to have custodial parts to it, which is to do with the hedging. Obviously, we have to do the conversions, but there's a non-custodial function as well. So we're not manning the middling any transactions really, unless there's that fiat hedging thing, and then we would be working within that, because we have to take the Dash that they pay in and then convert it to a stable coin for the local teams to then pay out. So there you go. That covers the point of sale. I mean, it's in of itself, the point of sale is a complex bit of software, but we're a full-time team. There's two of us that are working really hard on this all the time. We're pulling, 80, 100-hour weeks at the moment to actually really turn this around, and just because it's needed. This is needed. There are merchants on the ground using this in Colombia and Peru already, using what we've already built, and they're about to move on to our new version, which is being tested now. This isn't a case of, this is in 12 months we'll have this released, or that, this isn't needed right now, but it might be when Evo comes out. This is needed right now, and it's happening right now, and it's being built right now, and development's happening every day. We're pushing changes to our Git repositories, we're pushing changes and adding new tickets in Jira. This is happening. And so that point of sale in of itself is a significant part of this project, but in of itself would be enough. But let's go on to the next bit, which is the fiat on off-ramp for Dash, which means that basically a customer can go into one of these merchants that have enabled the fiat on-ramp, off-ramp module, and they can buy Dash or sell Dash to or from the merchant. So I can walk into a store, and in the way you used to top up your mobile phone, you can go into this merchant in Colombia or Peru, Venezuela, and say, look, I want to buy 100 bolivars worth of 1,000 bolivars, 10,000 bolivars worth of Dash, so that then they can spend Dash. And what this does is it closes the loop on adoption. So you have this issue historically where Dash is siloed, where someone will own Dash here, someone will be able to spend Dash here, and there's these little floating islands, and that doesn't really work. That's a place where we're trying chicken and egg situations where TMV's approach was to sign up all these merchants, and then they'll get the Dash in their hands. But what we want is a turnkey solution, which we can say, hey, look, here's a Dash ecosystem in the box. Let's take that there, let's take it there, let's take it there, and do it in a measurable, scalable, and sustainable way. And that's really what this actual on-off ramp part of the system offers. So really, that'll allow people to walk into a store and buy Dash, and they'll be able to walk into a store and sell Dash. So if I've sent my family members home some Dash, to go and buy food, they can walk into a store and sell that Dash, and then buy food from another store that doesn't accept Dash, or they can pay with Dash in a store that does accept Dash. So it's this closed loop ecosystem that will really make a difference to our adoption efforts. So the next thing is the remittance system. So as I mentioned there's a way for people to send Dash home. So what this looks like is it's an association of a Dash address with a person. Obviously, Evo is going to bring that in. So as soon as Evo does bring that sort of functionality in, we'll work within that constraints. But we can't wait for that feature to land, and we don't know what that feature is going to look like. Whereas we can define and understand the needs of people in, well, Venezuelans in particular, living in Colombia, and build a solution right now that really works for them and allows them to send that Dash home to their loved ones. And that whole system ties really nicely in with what we're already doing. It was an extended part of our scope. We added that on afterwards, but it's something where it's really important that we start seeing to the needs of those Venezuelans living in Colombia and all around the world. And it's not just Venezuelans; it's a whole remittance program for anyone living anywhere. If this gets deployed by Dash Thailand, people can use it to send money from around Thailand, to send money home from Thailand to wherever. And one of the best parts of it is it's not it doesn't require both parties to have a Dash wallet. It can be an onboarding tool. So if someone's familiar with Dash and they want to send Dash, they'll walk into the store and I'd like to send Dash here. And then that person who they want to send the Dash to will get a notification, and they would have to onboard with Dash to continue. The same way round, if someone wanted to receive Dash, they would say to their friend or family member, could you send it to me in Dash? And then that friend or family member would then be onboarded onto Dash. So it's a case of, it's not just, in our system, in our own ecosystem, and people already in it, it's a way to get new people onto that system. So again, it's another option to bring more people into the Dash ecosystem and get more consumers and people actually adopting and spending with Dash. And the final part of the Dash retail platform is the fiat hedging solution. Now, the fiat hedging solution is a massive issue for merchant adoption. If you are a merchant and you have cash flow that you really need to safeguard, if you are having suppliers and employees who need to be paid, you can't speculate on cryptocurrency. There was a discussion recently where someone said that if you want to accept Dash, you have to speculate. That is not true. I mean, there is services like BitPay, but BitPay is not global, and BitPay is not, it's not the same. It charges fees. It's not a service that's being built for Dash, and then it has, it's incentivized to make profit. BitPay is. Whereas we're trying to build a system which allows merchants to accept Dash without having all the downsides of the volatility. They have all the upsides of Dash, of the immutability, the instant transfers, everything that goes really great with Dash, but they don't have to speculate. They can do if they want. They can choose how much Dash they want to keep. If I want to keep 100 Dash and then everything over that in a month gets converted, I can do that. That's an option. And that's part of this, giving merchants choice and actually respecting them and saying that, you have suppliers to pay, you have employees to pay. If your employees won't accept Dash, then you can convert to fiat. And actually backing that system up makes it a lot easier to sell going into new merchants. It's a lot easier for existing merchants to feel more comfortable with it. And it's a lot easier for them to even want people to start paying with it because they know there isn't that risk there. So really, it's a case of taking away that volatility risk when they're accepting Dash, when they're selling the Dash, when they're remitting the Dash. It's all this whole system that ties together. And it just means that more merchants will be willing to accept Dash. And that's the bottom line. We're trying to push Dash adoption here and accelerate a Dash adoption to mass adoption, to be an agile way of taking Dash and spreading it around the world and doing this in a sustainable way that's scalable. At the moment we're throwing money into locations. We've got embassies, we've got adoption teams, we've got this, and that doesn't work because Dash doesn't scale linearly with how many merchants we have signed up. So we need a way to make this sustainable, to make this scalable, to remove too much people overheads. They can't justify going into every merchant every week and saying, how's it going with Dash and following up. But if we have a touch point, if we have a application, a platform which has support in it, that's a lot more efficient. And this is basically just the way to do this. This is the way we get Dash landed globally, the way that we make Dash scalable and sustainable. And yeah, that's really what Dash Retail is aiming to be. What progress has been made in the first 3 months of work? Well, in the first 3 months, we started off by, let's go month by month. So in the very first month, we started off with researching and establishing the specification of the system. We released a pre-alpha version of the system, which was built off of Spark. So we basically found some issues and bugs in Spark. We forked Spark, found some issues, bugs in Spark, fixed it, improved the reliability, rebuilt it on Amazon Web Services, and we also rebuilt Dash Rates, which, for those of you that don't know, Dash Rates is how the iOS and Android wallets and Spark turn a value in Dash into a fiat value or vice versa. So when you open up your Android wallet and send money, you can choose to enter pounds or dollars or whatever, and then that will get converted to Dash. And that system's called Dash Rates. So it's the same at the point of sale. If I want to price my goods in bolivars, I enter a bolivar amount and it gets converted to Dash. So there's a system behind it. So we had some issues with Dash Rates. Really, it's important that when we're building a platform like Dash Retail, the infrastructure behind it's really good. And Dash Rates was using Bitcoin average, which is quite stale for rates. So, the price could have changed massively compared to what's actually being communicated in the point of sale. So we basically rebuilt Dash Rates in Golang, and now we've completely refactored the code base to go from that one or two sources, so from Bitcoin average and Dash Casa to actually including, or Bitcasa to including 12 different sources, including those two as well. And the whole new system is just a much more extended system, and it's also it's just a lot more performant, and it's just it could even be sold. It's a project in of itself, and that sort of API could be licensed because it is so valuable, and it's all in real-time data with WebSocket connections to those major exchanges. So we're pulling lots of data, bringing it in, and actually giving a true Dash price. And that data is also able to be broken down. So rather than saying, hey, this is the Dash rates, we're also saying, hey, this is the Dash rates. Here's where we've compounded this from. We've applied a special weighting in Venezuela to this one because this is a better source. So that our pricing is more accurate in Venezuela, just anything like that. We're really breaking it down and explaining it. So if you are a dev or you'd be interested in using that service, then please take a look at the API. Anyway, back to what we did in the first month. So the point of sale and the rate lookup combination, that got deployed in Peru and Colombia and Venezuela, and it's got a documented 99.99% uptime. So yeah, first month, specking out, launching a pre-alpha and fixing Dash rates. And started designing the system as well. In the second month, we completely refactored and expanded that Dash rates, as I said. So that got into the comprehensive system with more rates, greater reliability. We released full designs for the Dash retail system, and we integrated Quintigo into that pre-alpha point of sale. And finally we released another example from we released an example of our reporting dashboard. So the very first chart on our reporting dashboard, which was just saying the point of sale volume, but the reporting dashboard, the full one, is now live, so you can see that, and I'll put a link in this so you guys can see that. Okay, and that brings us on to this month. So this month we launched the full tracker, as I said. So that includes both tracking of point of sale transactions, volume, and also Hablador transactions and volume, and it's all broken down. Have a look at the tracker, it's quite interesting. And yeah, we're testing it at the moment, so any feedback that you have would be really welcome. We've also started internally testing the first version of the Dash Retail point of sale. It's pretty good. We're pretty happy with it. It's got a lot of features, and for something that's been, I guess, 3 months. Yeah, it's been a hard 3 months, but we're really happy with what we produced, and yeah, we've been really hammering it and testing it and improving it. And hopefully you'll see that getting rolled out pretty soon to Colombia, Peru, Venezuela, and sort of around the world, really, hopefully. We've also handed over the new Dash rates to Core for integration into iOS and Android wallets. So rather than using the one that's Kodak's built, it will now then switch over to using the one that we built and having that greater data fidelity and actually having real-time rates. So when you look in your phone and see that Dash is equal to however many dollars, you could go online and it would be equivalent to whatever is said in Binance, Kraken, Poloniex, all these exchanges, and you can see the full list of exchanges. I'll put a link to that. So yeah, really, it's been a very, very busy few months, but we're really enjoying the work that we're doing, and we can't wait to actually go down to Colombia and see the people using it. Obviously, George has been fantastic in giving us feedback and everything, but there's something not quite like actually going there yourself and seeing the platform that you built in real use by merchants. What, if any, changes or pivots were necessary from your original scope? Well, we've expanded our original scope, as I mentioned, so the remittance tool, the pre-alpha point of sale, Dash rates, all of this is stuff that was not part of Dash Retail, but it's part of Dash Retail because it's so important that we get this right. There was a new opportunity there, and there were new needs in our target market, and there was stuff that we needed as part of Dash Retail that we had to build out because it wasn't there or it wasn't up to our sort of expectation or the level that we would require. So really, spec has only expanded. It's still just the two of us devs, but we're doing pretty well and we're pretty happy, and everything we're taking into our stride. Is the proposal on schedule, and do you believe it will be able to deliver its full roadmap on time? Most of our parts of our proposal are ahead of schedule, others are slightly behind. We've moved a little bit here and there, but yeah, we've had that extended scope, so there's stuff that we've delivered that was never promised, and there's pretty much everything else has been delivered on time or just with a slight delay, or we focus on doing some more internal testing before releasing it. Our roadmap's very ambitious. It always was, even before the extensions to the scope. And we're putting a huge amount of work into Dash Retail, but we're very confident in our ability to deliver the end product and the extended functionalities on time. So we're really looking forward to, you'll see the releases over the next few months as we go. You have indicated that Dash Retail's pre-alpha point of sale has launched and is already in use across Colombia with documented 99.99% uptime. What data can you share about this initial launch and the reception it has received on the ground? Okay, so firstly, I'd like to note the great work of Kodak's on Spark Payments. Our pre-alpha point of sale is a fork of Spark Payments with a few bug fixes, Cointigo integration, and an improved fiat rate lookup system known as Dash Rates, as I mentioned earlier. So really, hats off to Kodak's for helping us get that launched really straight away. And whilst our point of sale has been able to maintain 99.99% uptime with a 5-minute downtime over the last month, there was a 3-hour window when insights run by Dash Core Group went down, and therefore the point of sale was unable to process transactions. Once the full Dash Retail point of sale is operational, we'll remove this dependency on Insight, and we'll also have more redundancy in there. So if there is an issue with querying our own Insight node or querying our own node, we'll fall back to another node or another way of querying the node. So there's not an issue there going forwards. Performance of the point of sale, including transaction count and volume, is visible on the Dash Latam tracker and on the Dash Retail tracker. But in addition to this, I also reached out to George for his thoughts, and he has said the team were absolutely thrilled with the performance of the point of sale. They have said, they felt let down by other systems, but this point of sale has just worked perfectly from the get-go, and they're really happy with the work that we're doing. So really positive feedback from the ground so far. How is the point of sale different from previous options that are available? Really, it's about that best-in-class user experience. It's more measurable. It ties in and is completely integrated with the rest of the system, so it enables those merchants to instantly hedge their Dash receipt payments into a fiat, or as well as sort of pre-select what sort of percentage of Dash they'd like to keep, or flat amount or percentage of Dash they'd like to hold, and then anything over that amount that comes in will get converted. It facilitates those local payments, so it works within the context of the local teams and works with them. So there's this hierarchy of system admin, agent, merchant, and consumer, and then there's a support chain going up that, so merchants will be able to get support from the local team rather than sort of having this sort of siloed approach of systems and contacts. So really, it's a case of making those efforts that we have going on around the world, going and making those efforts sustainable, making them scalable, making them measurable, and just really iterating on this platform to allow mass adoption of Dash and remove the bottlenecks which are getting in its way. In terms of direct comparisons, I don't have any. We wouldn't be where we are today without the work of Kodak's, without AnyPay, without Hans's QRCR. But so I'm not here to sort of criticise their work. I would say that Spark was more of a sort of a side project of Kodak's, whereas we're two developers working full time, more than full time, on this and building this whole system out. Hans and QRCR is more of a pro bono effort from his other sort of work for Venezuela, and I'd like to believe that what we're building here will be used across the Dash ecosystem, and it will create a standard really. And AnyPay, obviously what they're doing is great in New Hampshire in particular, and they've also had success in Thailand, but their system allows for accepting of lots of cryptocurrencies, and they're more of a commercial entity, whereas we're building a platform for the DAO and for those local adoption teams. So I'd say those were the main differences between what Dash Retail is going to be and what the existing options offer. Could you break down the timeline for completing the various milestones associated with successfully completing the Dash Retail project? Okay, so obviously, it is a project. It's not a case of, we'll build it and then you're on your own. It's something where we'll be working with those local teams and extending it. But in terms of actual timelines, next month is when we release the first version, which will start being rolled out in Colombia and Peru and Venezuela. And then it's really a case of iteration. So we'll be adding new features, new functions as we go, and you'll see those happening month on month on month. So we'll be demoing the admin thing, we'll be testing out the hedging solution, and then we'll do a pilot of that hedging solution with a small subset of the merchants, or even internally testing first, and just this whole sort of QA deployment pipeline. We've got everything's being tracked in Atlassian and Jira, and we've got this sort of longer term thing. If you do want to see the full roadmap and our plans for deliverables, there's a post on George's blog, which I will provide a link to, which has some of the more sort of concrete deliverables in there, but really there'll be iteration happening every week. So there'll be new changes coming in and just new things happening inside our ecosystem every week. So it's not a case of there's a there's a finish line. There is finish lines, multiple finish lines, but there's also a lot happening in between them. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to keep sharing with you guys and with Dashwatch and keep you all in the loop as that goes on. Okay, so the next question is asking about our Dash rate system. We had a milestone for having it ready at the end of March and being passed on to core for implementation into their pipeline. So yeah, there's 12 exchanges factored into there, 12 data sources. It's been ready for quite a few weeks now, but we've been testing it. We've been really hammering it, and we noticed a couple of issues, but it's been at 100% uptime over the last 3 weeks, and we've now handed over to Liz Roebuck at Core, so it's up to them when that gets developed. We can't, when that gets integrated into the wallets, we can't really make a decision on that or no, because we don't know what their internal things are, and we can't make any promises on saying, hey, it's going to be in the wallet here, because we don't know what their pipeline is. So really, that's up to them. But they have it, and it's not just them that has it. Any Dash project that wants to have perfect Dash fiat rates in real time, or any of the other data, if you wanted to have finance data in real time for Dash, and let's say you're just doing arbitrage, you could have Binance and Poloniex, we can provide that. Obviously, it's free for any Dash project as well, so that goes without saying. So yeah, really Dash Rates is ready. I will link the documentation for the Dash Rates API as well, so anyone can look through that and they can check it out. It's very cool. I'm very proud of the work that's been done there, and yeah, I'd like you all to, if you're a dev or you're interested in sort of APIs and real-time crypto data and the sheer amount of data that we have here, I invite you to check it out. What metrics should milestone owners use to make a value judgment about the Dash retail proposal? Well, really, I guess it's a case of asking yourself some questions. So the first one is building the measurable, best-in-class point-of-sale and merchant system a good use of Dash resources? And are we using the right amount of resources? I would argue, it's definitely a good use of time. We've had some success there already, and we want to accelerate and really provide a catalyst for that success. Are we a good use of Dash resources? We're pretty cheap. We're working very hard for it, and we're very passionate about Dash. But really, ask yourself that question. The next question I'd say is, are we meeting our milestones and delivering that system? Yes, but make your own judgment. Are the ground teams we serve happy with our progress? Yes, we've had fantastic feedback. George and his team are very happy. As it gets rolled out to other teams, we're in talks already with a couple of them. Obviously, their feedback will be made known to the DAO, and you can also see their performance and their success on our tracker. Okay, so next question I'd say is Dash Retail responsible for providing critical infrastructure currently in use across other systems by DAO-funded teams, including Dash Core Group, Dash Latam, and others? So we provide the Dash tracker for Dash Latam, so critical sort of part of their systems, and we provide Dash rates for Dash Core Group, but we're also building out any of the infrastructure that surrounds Dash Retail and sharing that. We're working on various things, including integrations with major exchanges. We're working on we've been working on Dash nodes in Golang. There's just a lot that we're doing as part of this, as an extended part. So it's not just benefiting Dash Retail and putting all your sort of the work into Dash Retail. It's a cohesive effort, and it brings up our ecosystem. Next question I'd say is Dash Retail being favourably received by Dash merchants? And the answer is yes so far. We've deployed our pre-alpha and it's been well received. We've started testing the new one and having people use it, and they love it. It works. The design's much better. It's much more user friendly. So yeah, hope as long as that continues, then we're on doing something right, really. Next question is the Dash retail software demonstrably assisting ground teams in signing up new merchants who would previously have been put off by volatility. So that's saying, is it a good idea to have this volatility hedging service, and is it benefiting us? And right now, we can't answer that because the system's not there, the volatility hedging thing. But we do know from the fact that the people there is closest to the ground in those situations with merchants know that volatility is a bottleneck and it is a hesitation point about accepting crypto. And if we can remove that bottleneck, remove that friction point, then it should open the doors to more merchants. So really, make your own judgment. We're constantly updating. We're very transparent. We're working very hard, and the platform is working. We're meeting our deliverables. Really, to me, it seems like a no-brainer that you'd continue to support our efforts. But ask yourself, and if you do have any questions for us, then you can always contact me. I'm very easy to reach. Does the Dash retail proposal anticipate facing any legal or regulatory hurdles regarding merchant hedging, remittance work, or Dash being available for sale by merchants? So Dash Retail is a software project and it's modular. It's pretty likely that if there are any legal issues, then those issues are going to be faced by those local teams utilising the platform, not the software team behind it. As it's a modular platform, people can enable and disable modules, so right from the admins to the agents to the merchants. So if a agent can't offer for whatever reason, be it legal or regulatory, or even they just don't have the capacity to offer the fiat hedging sort of solution, then they can just disable that module, and no merchants that are under their umbrella will be able to use it. As we'll be piloting the software first in Colombia, there's no crypto law, and so crypto is de facto legal. So we'll be launching all services there as we launch anyway. So there's no issue there regarding the legal or regulatory frameworks. We'll also be encouraging, the use of Dash Retail in places where teams have already established legal precedent for using the system, or at least parts of the system. Further to that as well, the other thing I'd note is that the system's also capable of doing KYC or AML, and how that would work is either a user would be pre-authorized and they would have some sort of login into the system, so they would do KYC, AML at home or on their mobile and use the system, or the system itself could do KYC or AML. So as it's going to be running on tablets have cameras, we can do pictures of driving licenses, scans, and everything like that. So yeah, no really regulatory issues in our minds, and even if it just ended up in certain places being used as a point of sale, then that's a step up from what we've currently got. Will the Dash Retail proposal work be available for other teams and projects located around the world? Of course, this has always been intended to be a global project. Just because we're working very closely with Dash Latam to define the need for this product and work with their merchants does not mean that it's not going to be open up for everyone. As soon as we've refined the Dash Retail offering and we're confident in offering that as a package, it will be completely open. And we're already soliciting local teams and talking to them about using the Dash Retail platform in its early versions as well. So it's going to be available around the world. With very little fee involved. There's not a per transaction fee. There's just, we'll have to localize it, and there may be certain things we have to factor in. So let's say if we had to develop a KYC that's specific to Canada, which there's a company called Flinks, for example, then that would take some time, and that would probably just be part of our proposal or their proposal. They might say, hey, we need to pay the Dash Retail guys 10 Dash to spend 20 hours building out this Flinks integration, just something like that. So yeah, Dash Retail is global. It is for the DAO. It is for the local adoption teams. It is not just under the Latam umbrella, even though their work is pivotal in what we're doing and getting it launched. It will be open to everyone. What is the current situation and progress report with the e-wallet proposal initially funded in 2018? Just to be clear to anyone watching, we've been in full communication on the Dash forums, Discord channels, and directly with Dash Watch. We've never disappeared. We've always been reporting transparently. All of our financials are completely transparent, and all of our progress reports are. We're pretty clear. But I think this question is just to get a summary update in case anyone's missed those. So e-wallet was built to be sort of like a Coinbase service for Dash in the UK. And our budget for it was around $170,000. Unfortunately, due to the extended bear market, we ended up with around $35,000 of that $170,000, and we all ended up taking on significant debt, totaling around around sort of 40,000 between us. We were unable to hire an additional developer. We were unable to pursue FCA licensing. We had to really cut back on everything, and even took on that significant amount of debt. We did manage to launch the platform, and we demoed out on 3 amigos before we launched, but each of our prior agreed payment processors backed out. So we'd already told them we were working with cryptocurrency, but they backed out. 2 of them just we were not working with cryptocurrencies anymore, and one of them explicitly said that it was Dash's privacy concern that caused them to not want to carry on the relationship. Unfortunately, because I mentioned before, that because that budget and deficit, we couldn't afford direct licensing with the FCA, which has actually made it harder to pursue banking. And if we had been able to afford that, we could bank with one of the few banks that are supporting that. Unfortunately, that would cost us around $15,000, so it's not something that's viable for us at the moment. We have received a small amount of funding from Dash Boost in March, and we'll be flying back to the UK very soon to talk to more banks that we've already made some really good inroads with. We're also making the platform that we built. There's a rebrand in progress at the moment as a crypto exchange available around the world with no KYC. And there's one more avenue that we're pursuing is we're in conversations with we're in progress of a partnership with a Canadian masternode owner to actually launch the platform with the Canadian dollar pair instead of the British pound pair. So yeah, lots happening there as well. He's flying over here in the next few days. But yeah, we're very busy at the moment, and hopefully we'll still manage to launch that despite the significant budget deficit there. You have been a vocal critic of the Dash crypto proposal. Do you feel it is a conflict of interest to criticise other projects while competing with them for DAO funding? I have issues with the Dash crypto proposal. It's not a secret. I don't have issues with Julio. In fact, I talked to him and I apologise for any personal offence that I caused, because I think Julio's got the Dash's best interests at heart, and I do agree with him that certain digital marketing based initiatives should come before the DAO. However, I had very serious issues with the approach there was to marketing Dash as an investment. So I've worked in digital marketing for 13 years. I've got millions of dollars of ad spend and experience. I've ranked first organically for some of the world's most competitive keywords. I've worked marketing to high net worth individuals as a consultant for a wealth management firm and for one of the UK's largest property companies that specialises in real estate investment. It's pretty safe to say I've got domain expertise when it comes to digital marketing, and also in marketing to investors. I think it's important that when an expensive digital marketing proposal comes before the network that I share my thoughts. Really, the DAO is free to dismiss those thoughts, whether they think, whether due to my role in another proposal, but I should make that decision for them. If you, as a masternode owner, wish to think that, my input's not valid because I have a proposal, that's fine. I'm completely fine with that. But it's also important that I don't make that choice for you, and that I share that. And I try to do it in a way that expresses that opinion, that it's not me trying to kill the proposal, it's about me having an issue with them marketing as an investment. I've worked, like I mentioned, marketing to investors at a very extensive level, and everything that I said had to go through compliance because of the legal recourse, which is one of the issues that I had with the Dash Crypto proposal. I do wish the guys at Dash Crypto the best, and I can see that they've been responsive to some of the criticisms raised. They've made some changes, and yeah, I don't really want to attack that proposal, and I do have issues with the site still, but it is a case of I would only really raise my voice when I felt that there was a serious concern for Dash, and I'm passionate about Dash. I've been working for DAO for over a year now. I put a lot of my life and am very invested in it, and feel that for the idea that I can talk and share that expertise, that just doesn't sit right with me. But like I said, anyone is free to dismiss my opinions on that because of me being a proposal owner as well. What advice would you give to other proposal owners looking to get involved in the Dash ecosystem? Well, the main advice I would give is to get involved with the community before they start their proposal. Really, they want to be able to understand Dash more and understand what it needs, as well as qualify their proposal ideas. The DAO's made up of a lot of very helpful people, and a lot of people with serious experience, and that comes across business, marketing, technology, anything really. There's someone in the DAO that has that experience. So I would say that get involved in the community, talk to people, qualify your idea before running a proposal, and yeah, just reach out. We're a helpful community, and there's a lot of very kind people that are willing to generously donate their time to support people, whether you're a beginner in crypto, really experienced, there's always stuff to learn, especially from our community. So thank you for watching my Dash Watch interview. Sorry if that carried on a little bit long. But yeah, if you do have any questions, please get in touch and I will answer them straight away.